Dude, what's up?
What's up, man?
We talked about doing this for a while, and we're here. We are. We're finally doing the thing.
Doing a
Um,
thing.
I'm Wesley. This is my buddy Brandon. We've played tons of games over the years. I think we met. What, I was 8, you were 9, so 20 years ago.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, good time ago. We've played a handful of games. Computer games, video games, card games, Pokemon, Beyblade, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, and now we find ourselves playing Flesh and Blood.
Yep.
Um, we until you approached me about the game, I'd never even heard of this game. So how did you end up hearing about it?
Well, I heard about it from seeing the name. I was watching some Magic content with the Tularian Community College. You guys know him as a professor. He had a Flesh and Blood video, and then I saw the box at the store that I was playing Magic at. And I saw it on TCG Players start to be a little thing I saw the name of, and then I saw it on Facebook, and the name kept popping up. So I went and looked at it. My wife was next to me, and she saw me looking at it. She's like, "Oh, that looks cool. I'll play that with you." And so I went and unloaded on a couple of boxes of Crucible War, and that kind of dates me as to when I came into the game.
Right.
Yeah, it was. I think Monarch was coming out shortly right after that, so I went into Monarch a little bit. Um, yeah, so that's how I found out about it. I opened a Kindle Spring Tunic and just kind of put it with the comments. I had no idea what was what. It's funny, but yeah. Then I started talking to you about it, and you mentioned that you hadn't heard about it till I mentioned it to you, and it didn't seem like it really hit with you. And I wanted to include this. This is kind of a funny thing. Told you about it, and it didn't seem like it hit, like I said. And then all of a sudden, I get a picture, and you got, I don't know, like 5 boxes in your front seat of your car.
Yeah, man.
You're like, look what I got.
Yeah, I mean, you've told me about this card game, and I was like, hey, man, like, I'm not playing another card game. I'm playing Magic. Magic's fun. It's great. And, I don't need another money sink right now. And then I think it was like Everfest. I literally, like, you mentioned Flesh and Blood one more time, and I punched in Fab TCG. And then, I pull up the website, and here's Starvo. And I'm like, oh, I don't know who he is, but yeah, that's my hero. Perfect. And
Yep.
I went a little crazy buying boxes, and finally settled down and picked a hero that I was happy with and settling with. Found Dash, and that's kind of been home. And and so then you and we talked, and they announced first Pro Tour. Sadly, neither one of us qualified, so we went and played the Calling instead. And we had a good time, met tons of people. And a common question that was always asked after we got done talking to people was like, hey, do you guys have a YouTube channel? And we're like, nah, man. But hey, man, here's my Discord. Like, if you ever want to, like, play over webcam or play over tabletop simulator, like, here you go. And and these people were what, all over the world, Denmark, Thailand,
Yep.
Hungary. I mean, all these different people from different places. And I remember we came back to the room after the first day, and you looked at me and you're like, hey, dude, we need to seriously consider a YouTube channel. And I was like, I don't know about that, man. That seems like a lot of work. And but you kind of, like, pushed us in that direction. And we started up a Discord channel with people playing tabletop simulator. And it's and now here we are, kind of like growing into a little community of new players, and more experienced players. And I mean, that's a lot of that was your idea. And here we are, trying to make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember who said it first, but one of us brought up the idea, and I think the best thing to say about it is the community was the thing we really wanted. We wanted, I think, before the YouTube thing. I think we were talking about making a Discord where we can put all the people that we met that we were having a good time with and stuff. We can just conglomerate everybody
Yeah.
and that community and just, like, grow it, you know. And it wasn't even
Absolutely.
so much a grow it thing, is at least a capture it, where we like capture
Right.
the people we met, you know, and put them all in one place so we can play with them again, because it was fun. And you know, then that turned into like, hey, well, why don't we do a YouTube thing? And then we have that community, and they kind of grow each other, build on each other. Like, okay, well, I kind of started thinking about it a little bit, and that's kind of where we ended up. And now here we are doing our little intro, and we got some players. I know we're hopping around a little here, but we got players in our Discord from California. We're trying to talk a guy into it from Alaska. The big ask. We got a guy, Kansas. We got some Kansas people in there, and we got a couple people from New Jersey too. And spread out. We got experience, like you said, and then some new people. And yeah, but
Yeah.
what? I don't know. But let's try to, for the people that are here, let's try to like sum up what we're about. So, what's your approach for the game?
I mean, you know, I played a bunch of standard Magic, and you know, it was fun playing. Having, you know, it's like Friday night comes around. It's like Friday night, I'm playing Friday Night Magic, and like that's where you could find me at my LGS jamming standard Magic games, or Saturday playing Commander. And then, you know, when you introduced me to Flesh and Blood, I found out that these stores work together. So like, you know, you'll have an armory on Monday, an armory on Tuesday, an armory on Wednesday. Every day of the week, there's an armory in a different store. I'm like, sweet. I can go lose 7 days a week. Excellent. Let's do this. And you know, like there's people that I play with week in, week out. Pro Tour qualifiers, finished in Pro Tour and received payout. And you know, that's not really me. You know, I wish I would continue to try and aspire to be this. But you know, I just want to have fun, play the game. You know, it's for me, it's about the connection with these people, right? Like, I remember the calling. I think it was like round 4 or 5. I sat down in front of a dude playing on Rhinar. No idea who he is. He's like, "Hey, my name's Paul. I'm from Australia." I'm like, "Oh, right on, dude. Who you playing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm playing Rhinar." I'm like, "Excellent. Let's have fun." Fast forward to when we were standing in line to meet or get, you know, some stuff signed by Steve Argyle. You know, I told you about my opponent, and then someone's like, "Oh, that was the tall Timmy," and I'm like, I have no idea who that is.
Yeah.
But you know, it wasn't that it was like a YouTube personality that I was playing against. It was just a nice dude. I played, you know, and all of my opponents, you know, I don't think any of them were really jerks. It was just a great thing, and I think that's what like really is like you know, seared into my mind at this point with Flesh and Blood is, you know, the community is just so positive, and when you approached me about, you know, doing all of this with the Metrix metagame, I'm like, I want to continue to foster community. Like,
yep.
you like, I am not the best player, and I accept that I will never be the best player. But you know what? I can always bring people together, and we can have a good time. So I'm just gonna focus on, you know, like what I can do, and that's what I can do is bring people together, and we can always have a good time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, what about you? I mean, you know, you bounce around, play a couple decks here and there. You teach me new interactions all the time with cards. So
that's because I'm always losing. I'm always learning.
Yeah, I mean that's the fun part, right?
Yeah, it is. That's come to be my favorite part, is losing, because I always learn something important. You know, that my approach to the game has kind of morphed and changed a little bit. I started out like, oh man, I want to be really good at this. I think I can start off and just be really good at this thing. And it turned out that, you know, I went and played the calling and went 0-5 and dropped because I was just struggling. Like I couldn't figure out my flow. Went up against a couple of Starvos, which, you know, I did okay against them, but I expected a loss there. But you were talking about how the community is so positive. And the one thing that I've come to appreciate the most about this whole thing is the way people tend to lift each other up a little bit when they're getting to that point where they're like, oh man, like, I don't know if my deck's doing so well, or I don't know, what am I doing wrong, that kind of thing. And I don't know if you've seen this or not, but I'm sure somebody can relate to this listening. you see somebody that's in that situation, and I've been that guy where like something bad's happening, and I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
this is a bad situation. Or like you lose tempo, which you lose tempo sometimes.
Yeah,
you have to learn why.
You're just given those 4-card blocks each turn. You're like, man, does it ever stop? Will I get a turn again?
And sometimes you don't.
You don't.
Yeah, sometimes you don't. You just lose the game, and you just kind of can see the point where it starts. And so when you see somebody like that, you'll notice some people. If it's a competitive game, they'll obviously wait till afterward. But there's a conversation that follows that is a group of people usually trying to help the person that just had a rough time, and telling them ways they can find themselves out of that situation before it happens in the next game, or something they could have done differently in that game to help them. And it's really cool to see people build on each other and try to like use the knowledge they've learned. Like you were saying, I've talked to you about rules interactions and stuff. Like it's cool to see that where people help each other out, and it seems like we're all kind of coming up together. So that's my approach really, is I'm just trying to learn the game. Same as you, I didn't make it into the Pro Tour. My first event was actually the calling, and it was a ranked event, and I was scared out of my mind. I was like, I'm going to mess a rule up. Somebody's going to get mad at me, and it never happened. Community was great, and the games were great. So that's kind of where I come from on it.
Yeah, because, before that, right, you were telling me, organized play where you live is relatively limited. I'm fortunate living in the Atlanta area. I get armories 7 days a week. I'm very fortunate in that aspect. And then when you weren't, you and I were resorting to over webcam or over tabletop simulator. And then we fast forward to what we're trying to do now. It's like when a new player comes into my LGS, for instance, Thursday before Pro Tour, you and I were leaving Friday. The Thursday before, everybody was pretty much gone because we had a lot of local guys that were qualified for Pro Tour. They were going to the banquet. My local store, Peach State Games in Woodstock, was like, hey man, I want to have, since Armory's probably not going to fire, what if I just did like a learn to play for new players? So he busted, a couple Blitz Precon decks out, and I brought some of my Blitz Precon decks out and went there. Dude, we had 10 new players. We had 10 new players, never played Flesh and Blood before, and they were ready to give it a try. And of that 10, 4 of the 10 stuck around. And, that's big. And a lot of that's, is lifting these players up, like they don't understand the game, or they just had a bad game, or they lost. But then when you start explaining to them like the cost of like playing classic constructed or, a competitive blitz deck, they get a little turned off from the price points. And, not everyone can sink that money into a deck right away, right? Like they just can't do it. They've got life first, right? So they've got obligations in life. And that's kind of like where you and I are trying to like fill that void, right? Like we invited 2 new players that have never played before this week into our Discord, and they're already jamming games on Tabletop Simulator. So over time, they're going to be able to develop those deck, build that deck over time, and they're already practiced. So they're no longer, they're still a new player, quote unquote, to paper, but they've already learned the basics of the game in like a low pressure environment, right? So, and that's ultimately what we're going to try and continue to foster here. Like Tabletop Simulator is cool. I would prefer in person if we can, but I've made so many friends from different countries and different states, as you have as well. And I want to play with my friends.
Yeah. And us being a few hours apart, it makes it easy. And it makes it easy for testing too. But really it started, I still consider webcam in person, because you're still like doing the cards and the dice and that kind of thing. So, we started there, and it's really great. I wanted to touch on what you said a minute ago about people don't have the money to fork out to, get the expensive equipment right away and stuff. And really, I don't know if you've looked into Commoner too much, but I heard about when it was first coming around, this guy was playing a Commoner deck, which for those of you out there who don't know what Commoner is, it's the Flesh and Blood equivalent of Magic's Pauper format, where, it's only commons. So you're not having to get money for the rares and the legendaries and all that. You're just keeping it a certain plane, even the playing field out. But this guy got a commoner deck, and he went to, I forgot what size. I don't know if it was an Armory or if it was like a RTN ProQuest or something in that realm.
Right.
But he performed well with this commoner deck. And you know, the rarity of cards in this game doesn't as much play into the things you can do. There are certain mechanics that have to be met with certain cards. Get that. But you can perform well if you learn to block and you learn to control tempo and you learn the basics. You're already at a certain floor that you can't really get once you learn those foundational things.
Right.
And so it's kind of cool. You can get somebody to learn these things. You can teach them as they go and help them make these good play patterns that will give them positive reinforcement to continue and want to play again.
Right.
And you touched on our channel and how we've our community, I guess, and how we've got people playing TTS that just started playing. We've got some people who are, I'd say they're good to teach people. You know, they're doing fine. Some of them know better than me, and you know, better than you, which is really easy to find.
Yeah.
You know, and so what do you see? Like, what kind of stuff have we succeeded in so far? What are some of the things you've noticed that you're happy about with our community?
I mean, you know, I think, you know, we're already kind of like, we've laid out, you know, you and I together, and not just us, you know, the people that we've involved, you know, everyone is, you know, is willing to collaborate. If someone wants to learn to play the game, like, I think there was someone that just posted a minute ago somewhere in the Discord that he's like, I'm brand new, I want to play. Can anyone teach me how to play the game? So, you know, that's ultimately what I'm trying to continue with you is, you know, I want to teach people and just have fun. You know, we spitballed, like, you know, tons of names. I remember the text message barrages with you about different names, and I'm like, no, that's not like original. Like, that's not original at all. And then I thought about, you know, what you know, certain person we met in Jersey. You know, he looked at you in Chipotle and he like saw your bowl and he had no idea what the heck you had ordered, how you ordered it, but he wanted it. And you know, little you know, 23-year-old from Thailand, first time in the States. And oddly enough, you know, he was in our hotel, and we saw him at the hotel. He had, you know, jamming games in the lobby. And last day of the calling, you know, you and I were like, hey, you know, can we get a picture with you? And so, you know, Vespa looks at us, he's like, sure. And I'm like, I want a picture right there. And there was, you know, the big Metrix background, real beautiful. I'm like, I want a picture there, because me being the Dash player, I'm like, yeah, you know, Dash doesn't get the spotlight, so we're gonna take a picture right here. And I mean, that, you know, that kind of just like seared in my mind about where we started, where we originated from. And then, you know, I texted you, I was like, the Metrix Metagame.
Yep.
And I was like, you know, dude, I think that's what we roll with, and, you know, ship it. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Like,
like James White, ship it.
I mean, that's where, you know, that's, I mean, I think that's ultimately, you know, we're not a YouTube channel. We're a community first. This will just kind of be a, you know, byproduct of the community. I want to, you know, try and showcase other people playing, and, you know, you and I can maybe commentate a couple games, or you know, maybe we can, you know, get other people to give us like their deck techs on decks that they're currently succeeding with in their local metas. So I mean, and then you and I have a couple things behind the scenes that we're working on that are pretty big, gonna be pretty exciting. So I mean, I'm really excited, man. I'm really excited, you know, and, you know, I know you are too. And
oh yeah.
You know, ultimately, I just hope this is something that you know, all you folks watching, and, you know, you and I, this is just something that we'll enjoy. If you guys want to, you know, be a part of this, we'll put our Discord link below. And anything you want to add, dude?
I think we pretty much covered everything, man. You know, we're just doing our thing that we like, and we're gonna do this and kind of talk about the stuff we're doing and keep on going with it. Maybe we talk about some decks we're building or something, and just kind of, we don't want to go too hard with it. We're just going to do it
at
the level that we enjoy, and let it organically grow as it does.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just want to do this as, like, two bros playing Flesh and Blood with their friends, and no, I'm not too showman like here. So it's just two raw dudes playing Flesh and Blood with their friends. Well, I'm looking forward to putting some more stuff out with you, and like I said, we'll take it a day at a time, see where it gets us.
Yeah, man, for sure. Till next time.
Yeah, till next time, man. See y'all later.
Adios.